Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Pat Murray, your host. I publish the Durham Skywriter, that's Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. But then on TV Skywriter, I like to talk to people not necessarily from Durham, although my guest is from Durham today, but I like to talk to people from everywhere about really cool stuff. So today, I have a very special guest, Wanda Boone. She and her husband, Earl, founded Durham TRY, and that is Durham Together with Resilient Youth. So welcome to the show today, Wanda.
Thank you, Patricia. It's good to see you again.
Absolutely. We just saw each other yesterday.
Yeah.
I went to a very special event that you held yesterday, and it seems that you have grown by leaps and bounds, but I will read a real quick blurb that I kind of took from your website and rewrote a little bit. So Durham TRY, through education, mobilization, and action, you strive to prevent substance abuse and underage drinking. So tell us how you got started and also elaborate on what I just read.
Okay, so Together for Resilient Youth, we founded it in 2003. And before that, I was Executive Director of Quality Assurance and Regulatory Affairs at LabCorp, a corporate job, which I never really saw myself in. It seemed like the most success that I've had in my life, even from a teenager, is working with young people. So young people have been my heart. But really, the reason why we founded the organization was that we had therapeutic foster children, and we had therapeutic foster children for 10 years. Yeah, so during that time, initially, the young people that came into our home had behavioral problems, but nothing really that major. So it would be things that you could solve and deal with within any normal family. But later on, the children that came to us were in gangs, they used drugs, they had criminal records. And so we knew that something was going on and we wanted to get to the bottom of it. I read a huge report that was written back in 2007, which was a gentleman wrote a research book, actually it was huge, on gangs in Durham. And one of the things that it said was that not only were young people using drugs, but that they were getting those drugs sometimes within their own homes. So we started looking at that and thinking about ways that we could prevent substance use. Did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people. I helped a coalition start in Chapel Hill, North Carolina in 2004, wondering why we didn't have anything like that in Durham. And when I heard that we didn't, then that's when I set my courses to have a coalition in Durham.
I'm just going to ask a really basic question to really get this thing going.
Okay.
When it comes to drinking, when it comes to drug use with young people, I'm just going to address young people since that's who you work with. Is it just recreational, or is there some despair in there? I mean, it can't be just one reason.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is that holding young people solely responsible for underage drinking, or you can fill in the blank no matter what it is like holding fish responsible for dying in a polluted stream. What I mean by that is that if the stream is polluted, if the environment is unhealthy, then the children from that environment are going to be unhealthy. So if you look at the landscape of drug use, let's say 20 years ago, then you wouldn't see the same kinds of drugs that you see now. You didn't see young people abusing prescription drugs. You didn't see them using heroin to the extent that they are now. It was mostly alcohol and tobacco. Well, now, of course, it's marijuana and pills. But my point in saying that is that we just can't address young people and say, oh no, don't do that, because that doesn't work. It never worked, and it doesn't work today because there's so many entrapments for young people. When they look at TV, alcohol is normalized, marijuana use is normalized, taking pills normalized. Everything is normalized based on the media and what they see in their neighborhoods, in their environment. And sometimes parents use drugs with their children. But you asked about despair. I do think that self-medication or self-medicating has a lot to do with it. We don't tend to think that young people are stressed because, after all, we're the ones that pay the bills. In a family, we're the ones that pay the bills. We're the ones that put the food on the table. So what does a young person have to be stressed about?
Exactly.
But in fact, they are stressed. They are depressed. They are anxious about their futures. In a recent study, it was even shown that young people in middle school and high school have not gone to school sometimes, and actually about 30% of the time, because they feel so hopeless. That's a lot of young people. So in order to deal with the way that they're feeling, they self-medicate. But the adolescent brain doesn't fully develop until someone is 25 years old. Therefore, they can take drugs, and we think if they're in middle school or high school and we've taught them, they should know better. But physiologically, their brain is not developed to the point where they can actually make a decision about the risk of doing some of the things that they do.
Then, it's kind of scary.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah, because we're accustomed to hearing about personal responsibility.
Right.
And are you the only voice speaking against underage drinking and drug use in many young people's lives?
We approach this issue from, I think, a very different perspective. So we really don't address drug use first. We talk about the impact of the media on young people's decision-making. We also talk about the environment. What is the environment like in your home, on your way to school, when you get to school, so that young people can critically think about what is having the influence on their behavior. We don't so we don't address, alcohol, marijuana, prescription drugs right off the bat, because that will turn them off anyway. I mean, they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about it in the context of their being an expert. They know where the drugs are. They know where to get it from. Whether it's being sold, alcohol is being sold to minors at a particular store, tobacco at a particular store, whose family smokes marijuana, where I can go to their house and smoke marijuana. I take pills from my grandmother's medicine cabinet, take them to school and sell them, or give them to other young people. So we use young people to be key informants on how to deal with the issue. So we don't even talk about, are you using drugs? Ooh, stop now. Because that's not even the point. It's the critical decision making, and how can you make better decisions? And what are these substances doing to your body, and how will they impact you as a teenager?
So what is your program? Are young people referred to, or just are they referred to peers or parents? How do they even hear about you?
Yeah, so they hear about us in many ways, and hopefully even much more through your television show. But usually they are referred to us through the school, and it's not because they have a program. So Bands Against Destructive Decisions is our youth coalition. So we've asked each school either elementary, middle, or high school, to provide us with a student, and it doesn't have to be an A+ student, but someone who shows influence among their peers. We ask the schools to give us one student who then will impact the entire school with a positive message, whether it's against bullying, against suicide, against risky behaviors, against substance use. And that individual becomes a leader within Bans Against Destructive Decisions, which is our young people's coalition, ages 9 to 17, or College Try, 18 to 21, or our adult coalition. And so the leaders come together once a month, which happened last night, and we talk about lots of different things. And then they get their talking point for the month, and then they carry out that message either on using social media, making posters, making a school announcements. They kind of have their own way of being creative in order to get those things done.
That's a lot of responsibility, but I like the idea.
It is, but young people like to have a voice. The other thing that it's done is usually students that are behavior problems get most of the attention. So these students, and as they impact their schools, then they become the crowd in the school.
Okay.
And so we have a flashy T-shirt so they can say, "Oh, I'm bad, BADD," and then others want to join in.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have one student per school. So it's not like you have students banding together from the same school. They are meeting together at your space at Re-City?
Well, yes. So they actually do impact large numbers of students. We have student coalitions within schools that range from a group of 10 or 25 or 50, and one school has 400. So they've engaged 400 students. And even in the schools where they have fewer team members, they actually impact the whole student body if and when a principal allows them to make an announcement over the PA system. And that way the message reaches the entire school.
Okay. Now, I've seen videos, like on YouTube and stuff on TV where a young person will self-medicate because they're depressed due to bullying. But we both know that Durham is known for being diverse and accepting. Is bullying a problem in our school system, have you found?
Yes, bullying is a problem. And, with the hopelessness statistic that I mentioned, the statistic about bullying is not as high, but the statistics are not that high, but it's still a problem. And with our leaders, we try to make the youth coalitions in the schools kind of like the safe hub for students. And so the leaders sign a pledge that says that to the best of their ability, they will not bully, they will not use substances underage, So they've already pledged to behave in a certain way. And we always talk about and bring back to reality the subject about bullying, about diversity and what diversity means. So we have young people of varying backgrounds, and they learn how to respect each other in this space, because ordinarily they may pass each other in school, but they wouldn't necessarily even attempt to have some kind of relationship. So we do talk about African American history, and not only in Black History Month, and we talk about Native Americans, and we talk about Hispanics, and make sure that those that are of each of those ethnicities learn to be proud of who they are.
Okay, this might be kind of a delicate question. I didn't ask you in
Okay.
advance like I usually do with touchy questions, but I do know
Okay.
that you're very strong in the faith-based community. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to ask this gingerly. Are you able
Oh,
to
just ask
also
it.
help and reach out to the LGBTQ young people?
Yes. And for me, um, being a pastor, being a minister, and being a member of the faith community means to me that I have more of a responsibility to be inclusive than anyone else. Otherwise, my faith is in vain and it's just a talking point. So we have LGBTQ members of the coalition, and they participate just like everybody else does. There's no special treatment, there's no special anything, because of course these students are going to school together, they're friends, and I certainly don't do anything to interrupt the love that they have for each other.
Oh, that's good. I'm so relieved because I do know that that is a problem with a lot of young people being accepted by their peers, the administrators. Sometimes it seems that the whole world is against them and they just really feel pressured. And
Mm-hmm,
a
mm-hmm.
lot of them really suffer. So I'm really glad to hear that they're also included.
Yeah, and my thoughts about this whole subject of young people. Every single young person, in my opinion, is at risk. It doesn't matter whether they're Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Muslim, LGBTQ. It matters not what they are in terms of ethnicity or sexual orientation or religion. Every young person is at risk, because once they get into that melting pot of school, the school does whatever it can do, but the school is not the police, the school is not the parent, the school can only do what the school can do, and they're supposed to focus on education. Sure, it should be a positive, healthy, helpful environment. But even beyond that, once students get into that pot, then they are susceptible to peer pressure and all of the other things that happen. So we want to help the school in order to have positive attitudes through the youth that are there. But that's why I say we have to treat all young people with respect, treat them as if and because when you give them something to do, they will rise to the occasion.
Wonderful.
And we should have that confidence in our young people.
Absolutely. Now, what if someone's watching this show, like the replay on YouTube, and what if they know a young person who really is struggling, really is having trouble already with drugs and or alcohol? How can Durham TRY help those young people? I mean, it's nice to talk
Yes.
about prevention, but what about the kids who really are already?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it's not only nice to talk about prevention. Prevention is the answer. So I do believe that, but we do work with other young people. So we have a program at Rebound, which is a short-term suspension program. But I want to say something about the misdemeanor diversion program when we get a chance. But if someone has a young person that is already addicted, and we may not think that a young person can really become addicted to drugs, but just think about it this way. If you know someone, a young person who is smoking cigarettes and they can't stop, it may be because they're addicted to nicotine. If they are hiding alcohol, or your alcohol in your cabinet is decreasing, and you know that a young person is using alcohol, they may be addicted to alcohol. So there are several points of reference. folks who are treating as adolescents that I would be happy to provide the phone numbers for in order for them to get help.
Okay. Now, I've seen videos. I'm really interested in the subject, so I do watch a lot of videos. But
Okay.
I have found out that a lot of, and of course you know it far better than I do, that young people are sometimes, athletes, they're prescribed with these strong drugs because they've been severely injured. And then they find that they keep taking them beyond the time when they're supposed to quit when they're better. They keep taking, and when they run out and can't get it refilled, then they find out that heroin is kind of the same type of drug, but it's cheaper, and then they just get out of control.
Yeah.
What is the best way to deal with that when you know that your kid is being prescribed these powerful drugs, or medications, I should say?
Yeah, I think that we as citizens, as adults, don't understand that we have the authority to tell our doctors we just don't want that much of a prescription, or we don't think that we're going to have pain, and so I don't want this prescription. And I know you're talking about after that. But that's one thing that I want to say. The other thing is that an individual or a teenager that's prescribed some pain pills, we need to watch them very closely. I think what's happened with opiates is that the access to them has become such that it's a problem. So we need to lock up our unused medications. We need to dispose of them when we can, and we should only.
And we shouldn't flush them down the toilet. There's a different way.
No, not the toilet, not the toilet. Since we're going there, I'll go there and then I'll come back here. So okay. There are 5 permanent drop box locations in Durham. One is at the police department headquarters, District 2 substation, District 3 substation, Carolina Behavioral Health, at the sheriff's, the complex where the jail is, and also out in Rougemont at the sheriff's location. So these locations you can go to and drop your medications off anytime without any questions asked. You just go in and the receptacles are right there and you just dump your medications in. So that is available all the time.
Good.
So let's get back to the opiates and the heroin. The one thing to do is to guard against overdose. And if someone is concerned about their loved one, whether it's a teenager or an adult, then they should have naloxone on hand. Naloxone is the bring back drug, so to speak. So if someone is unconscious and they are in overdose, then you can inject them or give nasal spray naloxone to them and they'll come right back.
Okay.
After they come back and they recover from that, then they should be taken to treatment immediately because eventually they'll want more drug. So there are several treatment agencies, again, that I can provide information on also.
You have 2 minutes left, but I ask a question.
Only have what left? Are you serious?
Okay, so if you're a parent of a young athlete or a kid who's been hurt and prescribed these powerful opiates, is it possible, I mean, you don't know how much your kid's hurting, but is it possible as a parent to say, I don't even want my kid taking opiates, please find an alternative? Is there an alternative?
Yeah, there are alternatives to pain, and unfortunately, pain pills. But unfortunately, there are not a lot of physicians who are trained in alternative methods. So that's something that a parent could ask for.
I just think it's so important. It just seems that it's so easy to get addicted. A lot of young people in these videos are saying that after the first time that they took the drug, they knew that they were hooked.
Right, exactly. And, again, we think that because our teenagers are taller, that they don't need as much help, but we need to keep a close eye on them, especially if they're taking pain pills.
Okay. What kind of information can we glean from your website?
Oh, there's so much there. It's just unbelievable. If you want information about prescription drugs in particular, if you go to durhamtry.org, then you'll see a truck on the right-hand side that says lock it, drop it. And if you click on that truck, then you'll get all kinds of information about prescription drug prevention, about treatment, about naloxone, and all those things. Then there are lots and lots of other information on adverse childhood events, which is something that's really, really important because sometimes that is the basis for not only depression, but for some of the other ills that we face and that children may be facing. Lots of stuff, you just have to look through it.
Okay, and this isn't probably in your purview, but I think that the stigma against mental health evaluations and treatment should probably be pushed to the side. We should probably be more willing. If our family members are showing signs of needing help, we take them to the doctor when their legs are broken. We should take them to the doctor when their minds seem to be skewed or veering off to the wrong side there. I think we really need to look at that as well, because I think that depression, like you said, and other mental issues are sometimes at the basis of these young folks and old folks.
Yeah, so that's in our wheelhouse too, and there's information about that as well, because that is also associated with self-medication and medicating and some of the things that we address as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wanda Boone. Do you have any shout outs before we go?
Shout out to everybody. Hey! I just want to thank the members of the coalitions, everybody that has supported us over the years, and those that are paying attention to me on Facebook and all of my different posts and things. Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your program.
Absolutely. And we'll be partnering to disseminate information in future issues of the Durham Skywriter. Actually, starting with this month, I'm going to retroactively add some information that I got from you today and yesterday. So thank you, Wanda Boone, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Folks, and be sure to check her website. It is durhamtry.org. And of course, if you're local, please read Durham, North Carolina's online community paper, the Durham Skywriter, at durhamskywriter.com. Have a great evening. Thanks again, Wanda.
Bye.
And say hello to Earl.
I will. Hey!
Okay, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you next week.